Hello. I'm hoping that this will answer questions on how to look at progress, including idle time, in courses in Edgenuity. So I believe that you can get into this through your parent account, provided that you have selected the correct, if you have more than one child in the GIFCO, that you've selected the correct child. If not, you may have to go in and have your student guide you through this through his or her account. So basically, depending on how the teacher has set up the course, you'll want to go to the Edgenuity link that's available. So in this course, we find it here. Now, this may happen where if you get this, it just means that it might be open somewhere else. So we just push continue. And what you're going to see first is all of the classes that the student is enrolled in Edgenuity. We are still in Schoology, but we're linked to the Edgenuity account as well. So in here, what you can see is in Econ, the student has moved 1% of the total course, has completed 1% of it, but does not yet have a grade. And this can be due to a variety of reasons. They may not have completed any assignments that are included in a final grade, or what they've completed they have not yet passed, so they might be stuck somewhere. That's what's happening here. Now over here in the math class, we can see that the student has completed 2% and has done something that has earned a grade. And this actual grade is showing us what the student has earned on whatever's been submitted, with zeros put into any other assignment that is due up until that point. So at this point, you can see this line at the end. That means that the student should already be done with the class, but has not yet done so. The red here will show on the progress bar, and it'll be red if the student is behind. It'll also say behind. It will be blue if the student is on track for progress, and it'll be green if the student is ahead. So there is a color code that's really easy to look at. To make sure if there's a blue and a green, not much to worry about. It's when the red happens. What I've found is that in Edgenuity, if a student is approximately 2% off or below where they're expected to be, it will show red. All right, now to know more details about what has been completed and how they're spending time, because maybe you have noticed that your student has been sitting in front of the computer for 5 hours. But this might be what you see. So how is that possible? So here's how you can find out. You want to come up here to where the student name is. We just have a test student in right now. I'm going to look at the drop-down menu and go to Profile. Over here, I'm going to come down under Reporting to Attendance Report. So I am going to look at this from within the Edgenuity window, but you can also download it, and I will show you that if there's a scroll bar at the bottom, and I can move over, or actually it might be easier is if I bring this down a little bit. There we go, and now you can see the attendance report that can be downloaded. So from this, what we can see is that okay. That's went too far over. There we go. Okay, let's just go here. We can look at the session, which means the dates and times that they're logged in, the amount of time spent. This just means that they were logged into Edgenuity. We'll find out more. This also includes idle time as well as productive time. And then how many activities were submitted. At the top, it'll show you a weekly summary, and then it'll break it down by days. Now, if a student has not logged in at all on that day, it just doesn't show up. So, for example, the rest of this week, nothing's there. Only today was the student in. So that's all that's showing. Notice up here, you can select a different range. It usually gives you about 2 weeks that it'll populate, but you can go back farther if you need to. All right, so basically what we see here is at 9:40 is when the student logged in. The idle time, notice, is the same time as how much work was done between this time at 9:41 and 9:42. So really, although it's being added up, the student didn't do anything. On the next one, you can see that the student was actually engaged in the econ class and one assignment was submitted. And this comes back to that idea that then was probably like a warm-up activity that did not go towards a final grade, which is why there's no grade for econ. Then there was a pause of a minute that it determined, and so it starts a new one. And here we can see that the student was in econ for 5 minutes, but there was idle time of 25. So you want to be very careful not to just look at the bold, because notice of that 31 minutes, almost 26 minutes of it was idle. That means that the student didn't touch anything on their keyboard, which, because basically there are videos and they have little pauses that the student needs to be clicking on to the next section of it. If the student isn't doing that, that starts logging in as idle time. So the 5 minutes would have been actually paying attention or clicking and the video is running, and in between, the student may have gotten up, walked away, done something else, but basically was not focused. Here also, the student clicked into math, but notice there's no time there, which means nothing happened in there. Now, there was another break that it saw, because here's where that transition was from math. Here it says 6 minutes and 20 seconds, which is pretty close to what the student actually did, and they completed one assignment. Then later on, a few minutes later, it shows that they logged in again. However, the entire time that this is showing, nothing happened. It's all idle time. So this is a good way to also have that conversation of how are you using your time in front of the computer. If we're seeing that there's a lot of idle time, you want to talk to your student about brain breaks and walking away from the computer during those times to shut down, get away for 15, 20 minutes, and then come back so that you're actually, when you're sitting in front of the computer, the student is actually doing work. So 20-minute sessions are much better than this kind of idea where you sit for 5 minutes, do something for 5 minutes, but are actually sitting there for 25. Better to be moved away from the computer at that time. Hope this was helpful. Please let us know if you have any questions.